Acha, Ishika, there's one very important question that I ask almost all my guests, and that is I see a lot of female bookstagrammers, female writers, even on writing platforms, blogging platforms. ज़्यादा females को I'm seeing especially in India, but जब बात आती है publishing की, so I see more male authors out there. Is it something that publishing houses are being biased, या you feel कि women are just not getting up, telling themselves कि मैं कर सकती हूँ, and they're not so confident in their abilities?
I think there are a lot of factors affecting that, because, and I'm going to sound like a raging feminist when I say this, but one of the main factors that I think that I've seen some of my friends go through, it's that families don't support their, their daughters pursuing such a field. They want their daughter to give UPSC exams, to get government jobs, to become IAS officers. They want that for their kids. Because obviously, I don't, at some point, I see their, since these jobs are financially stable, you know, they're good in the long term. But I had a friend actually, and she used to text me because she's a she's such a good writer, but her parents did not support that. They wanted her to pursue engineering. So, she used to get in a lot of fights with her father, with her mother. So I definitely think that this is one of the factors. And one of the other factors is that, you know, we think that women, they should get married and they should, look after their houses. Of course, these are modern times and it's improved by a lot. But kahin na kahin in every industry, males are being pushed forward more than females. Even if, the books written by males are mediocre at best, they'll get more exposure because, he's a man. He did it. And at the same time, if a woman writes the same book, she's going to face a lot of criticism. She's going to. For example, this is, I hope, I don't create a controversy, but I'm not a Chetan Bhagat fan. I don't like his books, but he's such a huge name, especially in India, within Indian readers. And, when I started reading books, I used to pick up his books because they were famous. And he's an Indian author. When I first picked up Half Girlfriend, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to love this. It's such a huge book. New York Times best-selling author. Yeah, I had a lot of expectations. But compared to the books I read on Wattpad actually, the fan fictions I read, it was disappointing. Like Chetan Bhagat's published book was disappointing to me in front of some of the thrillers, some of the romance books I read on Wattpad. And people write on Wattpad as a hobby, as an outlet. So I read, and most of the writers are female. I read such good books, like the thrillers. I read mafia books, I read romances, I read fantasy books, I read a lot of things, and they were 100 times better than what Chetan Bhagat wrote in his books. To each his own. I don't judge you. I don't judge anyone if they like Chetan Bhagat, but he's just not for me. But you know, when it comes to Indian authors, his is going to be the first name anyone speaks of. No one is going to talk about any of the female Indian authors. Hell, even I don't, I'm not familiar with any female author because when it comes to publicity, when it comes to, social media engagement, I only know the Durjoy Datta and I know Chetan Bhagat. I just know these two names when it comes to Indian authors. I don't know any female author at all. Maybe like
Sudhamurti fans are
I've
going to
heard of
cancel
them,
you.
maybe I've seen their books.
I said
Yeah, oh
Sudhamurti
my
fans
God,
are going to
please.
cancel you.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, guys. But yeah, it is what it is. I think, you know, people just prefer males. If male and female, if both of them are doing the same thing, the male person is going to get more exposure, he's going to get, better applause. He's just going to. It's the way our society is hardwired. We can go on and about equality, that, equal rights, equal this, equal that. But at the end of the day, when it comes, people are always going to criticize the women and not the man. They're just not going to. So I think that, such things, it stops people from putting themselves out there. I have a supportive family. Not many people have that. Like I said, my one of my friends, her parents wanted her to pursue something else. They did not care about her interests. And while my family, they've stood behind me. They've told me whatever I want to pursue, whatever my interests are, they are going to support it fully. And I'm so thankful for that. And that is one of the reasons that's, helped me become more confident, and that's helped me publish my book. That's helped me, made me want to put myself out there for people to judge. I don't care now, because I took a step. I took a huge step. But not many people have that power, because not many people have that background. They don't have people who count on them. They don't have people who believe in their dreams. So yeah, and especially if you're a girl, you're I think if any of your female viewers, they're going to relate to this at some point, that उनका उनके families को यही होता है कि शादी करा दी, बात खत्म, mostly. And yeah, like I think that's a huge factor in there being a lot of less female authors in India. Bahar, when we see like American authors, they have a lot of female authors, and there are almost no male authors. Like Colleen Hoover, Tessa Bailey, all the romance book authors, they're females. They're not a lot of male authors, Bahar, because there's a different environment there. I'm not saying that, we should be like Americans, we should support our women like Americans too. That's not it. But kahin na kahin, they do have better opportunities. वहां पर they don't expect every woman to just look after her house after marriage. They don't just reduce her to that. यहाँ पर we do. यहाँ पर every household does that. So that is the thing. And as for bookstagrammers, I don't know what to say about that, because I think bookstagram community is like romance community. Most of the books that people see on bookstagram, they're romance books, and people have dubbed romance books as girl things, that only girls are going to read those. So I think, that is why there are a lot of female authors reviewing romance books, reviewing books in general. While, if we do see some male authors, male bookstagrammers, we see them promoting self-help books. We don't see them promoting fictions. They are like, Ikigai or Murakami's books. I don't know. I don't read a lot of self-help or non-fiction. But most of the male bookstagrammers, they concentrate on non-fiction, while most of the female authors, they concentrate on fiction. And yeah, I think that's just it. No one you really know wants to read self-help books. I don't know if it's true or not, but I think, you can read self-help books only to an extent. You can't call reading your hobby and then just go on with self-help books. मतलब कितनी ही पढ़ लोगे, सारी कहीं ना कहीं एक ही चीज रिपीट होती है. Like there are a limited number of self-help books that's going to get you through. उसके बाद how is reading your hobby if you're not expanding beyond that? How? So I don't know actually. It's complicated, I feel. But regarding the Indian female authors, I know family background and family support. It's one of the main factors. And so is the fact that, we as people, we just push male, we just prefer males. We prefer to give them credit without, seeing how much effort they've put into it or not.
A very big argument that I have, and a lot of my viewers, I mean, not those viewers because I haven't put out my podcast yet, but like those people who have been following my blogs and all, they often tell me that whenever you're about to, interview a romantic, genre wali author, please ask her or him about the fact that today, in today's time and age, what we usually see in romantic novels is a lot of literature porn. I mean, smuts and spicy
Yeah,
chapters are to a एक extent के बाद it's just basically written porn. What is your what's going to
yeah.
be your response to that? You think कि as you mentioned, to each its own, या फिर नहीं, ये बहुत ज्यादा हो रहा है अभी?
See, I think to each its own is definitely a thing. I'm not going to judge anyone who reads books just for the sake of smut. But I think, Bookstagram is somehow responsible for that because I've seen people post reels promoting their books with only the spicy chapters. These books have no plot whatsoever, and they are getting readers. They are getting, millions of readers and millions of viewers just for the fact that they've written some kinky scene. Just for that. And I feel it's ruining readership. I personally feel, because I, as a reader, I don't prefer spicy books. I prefer closed door romances. I love them. If you give me two options, a spicy book and as well as a cute kids romance or a cute teenage romance with no smut whatsoever, I'm going to choose no smut always, because it just makes me uncomfortable. I don't think there is any need. ठीक है, एक दो chapters, it makes sense. If you're writing, about adults, it makes sense to include 2 3 chapters. But more than that, it's just why. And no judgment, of course, to each their own. If you like reading smut, do it. But I don't think smutty books, they're romance. They're not. I personally don't, share them under the romance category. I just share them under books. Books I'd rather not read. I don't know. I think, and moreover, the publicity these smutty books get, I think it's just encouraging new and budding authors to include smutty chapters in their books in the hopes that people are going to pick them up even if they don't want to. I know, there is a tiny spicy scene in my book, and I just included it because I did not want my readers to be disappointed by the fact that this is a closed door romance. Because I know people, I am a bookstagrammer. I know how people respond. I know what people want. I know what people want in a book. So keeping all that in mind, I had to include a chapter because I was like, I don't think it's going to be categorized as a romance book if I don't. I had that thing in mind in 2021 and 2022, because I was like, yeah, I need people to identify it as a romance book, so I need to include this chapter in it. Right now, if I had a choice, if I could go back, I delete it. I would, because I've grown since then, and I've earned more perspective, and I know what's inappropriate is inappropriate. And moreover, I don't want, my parents, my family to read such things I've written. It's just, it's just me, right? But it makes me uncomfortable, right? And yeah, I don't want my family, my relatives, I don't want them to read these things that I've written. I don't want them to, cast this impression of myself that, yeah, she's that type of girl, because we are Indians. There is a particular type of thing they associate with every girl, and I don't want to be that. You get what I mean. You're an Indian too, you get what I mean. But yeah, I think uh smutty chapters are ruining romance books. That is true. All right, but I don't know, I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon, because at this point it's the only thing that's keeping the industry going, romance industry going. Because people are only buying books when they see that these are the there are 10 smutty chapters in this book, there are 20 smutty chapters in this book, there are so many trigger warnings, there are so many kinky scenes. They're just picking up books to read those chapters. So I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon, but I personally don't support that.
Ishika, if your book had to be converted into a movie, for example, um, you can pick Bollywood actors, you could pick Hollywood actors, you could even pick maybe actors from Korean dramas. Who would you think would be the most apt to play the lead characters?
All right. So when I started writing this book on Wattpad, I actually had a fan cast in mind. I pictured the male character, Chris Sinclair. I pictured him as Ian Somerhalder. I don't know if you know him, the Damon Salvatore from
Uh,
Vampire Diaries. I
okay.
pictured him as Chris Sinclair because, yeah, like the descriptions, if you read the book, the descriptions of Chris, his aqua blue eyes and his build, it's basically I'm describing Ian Somerhalder. As for the girl, I used to picture her as Emily Rudd.
Uh,
She's not that famous, but she's a very good actor, and she has that that I pictured her as Grace. The big doe eyes. You can Google Emily if you want, but yeah, that
no, I know.
I had that fan cast in mind. And if it's ever going to be converted into a movie, I would definitely want Emily Rudd to play Grace. And if you know, since Ian is now old, I don't want him to play Chris right now. But if I had to choose a younger actor, I think I don't know. I've never even considered this, but I honestly don't know. I'm just going to go and say Harry Styles because, but yeah, but yeah, I don't know about male fan cast, but as for female, the actor I want to play Grace is Emily Rudd, hands down.
Any particular reason why you've chosen to have your lead cast name to not be Indian? The story seems to not be set in India, of course. I haven't read the book, but I mean, it's understandable. Any reason for that?
No, I wish it was that deep, but it's not. I used to while writing on Wattpad, I used to read a lot of fictions on Wattpad only. And I became accustomed to the settings. I knew a lot of, like, I read the book set in London or America, and I internalized that. And when it came to writing my own book, I just felt it was easier to adapt those locations into my book. It was not clever. It was not that. It was just that kahin na kahin it was easy. I felt it was easier because I could picture it, because I read a lot of things regarding that surrounding. I read a lot of books in that set in that location. So I just felt that setting my book in the same location is going to make more sense. And yeah, it started as a hobby. The book started as a hobby, and I did not imagine it's going to be published one day. So I should change the names and the setting and everything. It just started as, yeah, I'm just going to, go along with this. It's fine. I'm just going to name them Grace and Chris and Connor. I'm just going to go along with this. And when it came to publishing, I just did not see the need to change it because, these are my first characters. I don't want to change their names just before publishing for the sake of publishing. You know what I mean? So I just kept it like that.
Let's also talk about cancel culture. I mean, I personally haven't actually even had the guts to be able to pick up a Colin Hoover book because I've seen so much hatred. I know for a fact that a lot of my friends have read her books and they do tell me that yeah, there is a lot of abuse shown and there is I mean to each its own again. But I mean, most of my friends' opinion was कि this is not something that they know what I like to read, so they were like, it's not your cup of tea. देन मुझे ऐसा लगा बिकॉज आई रिव्यू बुक्स इफ मुझे गलती से पसंद भी आ गई कोई बुक सो पीपल आर जस्ट गोना कैंसिल मी अप डू यू थिंक बुक्सटाग्राम इज थोड़ा सा प्रोपेगेटेड आई मीन
Yeah.
इतनी भी बुरी तो नहीं होगी यार
See, if if you had joined Bookstagram in 2019, Colleen Hoover was going to be the biggest name you were going to hear. You know, you can trust my word on this because I joined Bookstagram in early 2020, and the only recommendations I saw on internet during lockdown, during COVID, were Colleen Hoover books. And yeah, it was like it ends with us. It starts with us. Chalo baad mein. I think it ends with us. November 9. Verity. People were like, yeah, I love Colleen Hoover books. I love this. I love that. But धीरे धीरे से, lockdown में people started reading more, and TikTok became a huge, book talk became a huge thing. And then, some people started vocalizing their hatred for her books. That garnered attention. Her books. They've heard people repeating the same words. They're just parroting the people they've heard before. Because I've been doing the same thing. I did the same thing when, people started canceling Colleen, that, she whatever kind of shit she writes. There is a line in Ugly Love. We laughed at my son's big balls. I don't know if you've heard of it or not. I've n- I've not read any of Colleen's romance books. I only read her Verity, which I think was kind of nice. Like, it was a dark thriller, and when I read it, it was very disturbing, but it was good. At a point, it was good. But at the same time, if I'm scared to say this honestly, I am scared to give my honest review on Bookstagram, because ये एक propaganda इतना चल रहा है, like it's become mainstream for bookstagrammers to hate on Colleen. I'm not saying that she writes masterpieces or she's a very good author or her books maybe they do deserve the hate. But earlier people loved her books. फिर एक जने ने बोल दिया कि their her books are bad. It went viral, and now everyone is parroting the same thing. No one has the opinion of their own. No, not no one. Like, most people don't have the opinion of their own. I just know that for a fact, because I've been one of those people. I've I've seen how, before publishing my own book, I was on the I hate Colleen Hoover train. I was one of them, even though I'd read only one book of hers. But still, I was like, she writes different. She likes weird lines. Then, when I published my book, I realized that, as an author, even one bad review can change my day. It can just uproot my entire year. It can discourage me to my core. So I just stopped doing that to Colleen. Because even if she has fans, people who love her work, just one hater, it's going to break her. Thing that she's put so much heart into. So I've just stopped doing that. But I personally, I don't get the hype behind cancel culture, because cancel culture में जितने लोग participate कर रहे हैं ना, उसमें से सिर्फ 20% को knowledge होएगी कि क्या reason है. बाकी सिर्फ they are just repeating because they don't want to be hated, because they just want to, they want to join the mainstream thing that, this is trending, so I'm just going to hop on this trend. It's just that.
Okay. Um, I want to ask you two quick questions. One is, how do you actually write? I mean, several authors have a different perspective of going about their writing process. How did you actually, what is your process? Do you first write the plot, then you make the characters? एक वो चीज़ है. And the second thing that I want to ask you is, uh, when your book first gets published, so how many copies first come out? And ठीक है, अभी फॉर एग्जाम्पल पब्लिश हुई, मुझे पता नहीं ऑनेस्टली, सो मे बी 25 बुक्स गेट्स पब्लिश्ड पहले, तो वो हाउ डू दे रीच बुक स्टोर्स, या फिर वो अमेजोन पे कैसे आती है? डज अमेजोन अलाउ यू टू लेट योर बुक्स बी सोल्ड देयर, या फिर व्हाट इज द प्रोसेस?
All right. So, as for the first question, what is my writing process? It's very uncomplicated, because I am a casual writer. I'm a mood writer. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Dhwani? Okay. So I'm a mood writer. I can just decide that I'm going to write 1 hour every day. but it's not going to happen until and unless I feel like writing. So my writing process is actually very casual. I don't, I have a rough idea, I have a rough plot in mind that, this is going to be the ending, this is going to be what the story is going to be about, and this is going to be the starting. I just have a very rough idea in my mind, but I don't plan my chapters. I've found that if I do plan my chapters, it's never going to work out. I can't write. I can't type my chapters that way. I can only type a certain line that I planned. Then after that, I go blank. I can't write. And if I just go with the flow, if I just chapter and I'm just going to show this one thing in the chapter, if I don't plan anything and just that, it works for me. It works for me very well. So yeah, that is my writing process. It's not very inspiring, so I don't think anyone should listen to me. But yeah, like I'm a mood writer, and this is the only thing that seems to work for me. जब तक मेरा मन है तब तक मैं लिख पाऊंगी. As for the thing that, the second question you asked, how many books get published? See, uh, the publishing houses, as far as I know, Ukyoto Publishing House, my publishing house, they, when I signed the contract, when everything was final, date was final, when I decided the pre-booking date, everything was done. They reach out to Amazon and Amazon, Flipkart, different channels, different selling channels, through their, officers and all. It's all internal process, and I had no part in that really. Contract may, it was said in the contract that once my book is published, it will be sold through these channels, it will be sold online on this site, it will be sold online on Kyoto Publishing Bookstore. It is going to be, it's going to be distributed to some bookstores globally. It was said that. And that was the end of it. And I was okay with that because it was available on Amazon. And most of the people I know, even myself, we order from Amazon. We don't, no, no one really has the time to go to bookstores and see every book that's placed there. So I was happy with the fact that, it was said in the contract that it's going to be sold on Amazon and Flipkart, because that's a huge deal. That's good enough for me for my first book. And I don't actually know how many books were published at first, but I do know that it depends upon the pre-order, like the number of pre-orders that uh, my pre-order started on 1st February, because the book was going live on 14th February. So the pre-order started on 1st February, and the people who pre-ordered in those 2 weeks prior to 14th February, they got their book exactly on 14th. Even I got my copy on 14th February in the morning. So I think it depends upon how many pre-orders you get. And, the after a while, I think it's just that if one person orders a book, then they publish that book. If they publish that specific copy, like if two people have placed an order today, they're going to print two books, I think. I think this is how it works, because if it does not work like that, I think, it's going to be quite a loss to them, because they did not take any money from me. So considering that in mind, I think this is the only thing that's going to seem profitable to them.
Okay. Now moving a little bit from your author journey, let's move to the Bookstagram part. I want to ask
Yeah.
you, when did you start your Bookstagram, and your top three advices to, fellow Bookstagrammers who've just started coming out? क्योंकि around me, whoever I ask, they are like, अगर followers बढ़ाने हैं तो बस aesthetic videos डाल, just aesthetic reels डाल. So वो bitter truth है, but is that the only thing?
Okay. So my Bookstagram journey, it started in 2020. When I started writing 17 Days and I actually made that account to post about my book. Like if I uploaded a chapter on Wattpad, I used to post a snippet of that chapter on Instagram, so that, my followers, a few followers I had, they were, they'd know that, yeah, I had updated, and they'd go and check it out. That was how my account started. But eventually, I followed a few people and I saw them reading books, and I was like, I read too, I can do this. I can just change, I can include a few more things into my account instead of just posting about what I write about. So I started posting reviews. I started buying physical copies of books, and I started clicking pictures. I started posting them, and slowly my audience grew, right? But it was a very slow growth actually. I started in 2020 and it's been 4 years, but still, like, I'm stuck on 2,300 something followers. I don't think it's 2,300 exactly, even less than that. But yeah, like, basically, I think once the algorithm is in your favor, it's going to work out for you. But the minute it stops, you are stuck there. In 2022, I went from 1,200 followers to 2,200 followers in 2 days. 2 days. But it's been 2 years since that, and I'm still stuck on 2,200 followers. So that thing, algorithm sucks. So that discourages you a lot at some point. But my advice to bookstagrammers that are still joining Instagram, that are coming onto Instagram, I wish I could say that, aesthetic videos, you should divert from that. You should be unique. But I think Instagram only seems to push aesthetic videos to different viewers. I don't know what's it about, but see, if you are a bookstagrammer, if you want to gain audience, search up trending audios, and make a reel on that. Because trending audios and trending reels, it helps a lot. It Once you start gaining viewers, followers are going to follow along. So the first thing should not be filming cute aesthetic videos. It should be using trending audios. You can just post a simple video, but you can use that audio. It will push it to more people, and more people are going to check out your account. Similarly, you can just divert from you can adopt a theme. This worked out a lot for me in 2022. I adopted a theme. I used a specific reddish filter on my posts, and I used to post only using that filter. And I had a theme in place, like, one white photograph, one colorful photograph, then another white photograph, then a quotation. I had a theme going on, and people liked that. So I don't know if it's true anymore, because now I've just started randomly posting anything I like, anything I want to post. But if you want to gain audience, plan out and be consistent. Consistency, but post at least twice or thrice a week. Be regular, keep reminding Instagram algorithm that, yeah, I'm alive too. Because that helps you gain engagement, and yeah, it will push you to your followers. Most of the time, like, if you post, only 20% of your followers actually get to see your post. 80% don't have any idea that you posted. So to gain all your followers, you need to post more consistently, more, you need to text them personally. You need to reply to their stories, like, engage with them, so that they can engage with your posts. This works. Like, you can just randomly comment on anyone's story, just reply to their story, and the next time you post anything, it's going to show up on their feed, because Instagram knows that you've interacted. So that helps. So engage with others, and be consistent, and use trending audios. I feel these are the three mantras only I can give you right now.
My final two questions to you, Ishika, is number one, I want you to actually bash some more unpopular opinions out of yourself because you've been very consistent with them. एक तो चेतन भगत का हो गया, एक कॉलिन हूवर का हो गया, कुछ unpopular
I
opinion.
feel I'm going to get cancelled. I feel I'm going to get cancelled. I just all right. Okay. Uh, all right. I'll share two unpopular opinions. I feel that I've already told you that I think smut ruins romance, so I'm not going to repeat myself. But I think that mm, I this is going to get me a lot of hate. I think sports romances are overrated. because the amount of sports romances I've read, they're not that high, but every sports romance I read, it's the same thing. It's mainly the same thing, and I just don't see the point. I was like, oh my god, I'm going to read another sports romance. But now that I think about it, I'm over it. I think it's just me. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel that sports romances are overhyped to some extent because, every sports romance has the same story. Not same story, but it revolves around the same thing. He's a player, and either she's going to be his sports agent, or she's going to be his paramedic, or it's just like that, or she's going to belong to some rival team's brother, sister, something like that. It's just the same thing. Maybe coach's daughter, and I'm so over that. I'm genuinely so over that. I cannot read another sports romance. I cannot. So I feel that is overhyped. I hope no one hates me for this. And another opinion, um, let me think about it. I It's not actually a very unpopular opinion. I think it's a very popular opinion, but I think, books to movie adaptations, it ruins the original story. I feel because they make changes because the author sells them the right? They sell their rights, and now they have the power to make subtle changes, and they change the things that actually made the story so unique, and because they have to, you know, encapsulate a 300-page novel to a 1.5-hour movie. They cut out they cut out small, tiny scenes that people used to love while reading. They cut them out, and they just focus on big, grand gestures, the meet cute, the conflict, the happy ending. They just focus on that. There is no build up. When you read a romance book, you see, the slow one. You feel the slow one. But when it comes to movies, it's not shown correctly. It's not shown correctly, and I think a lot of people feel this, that adaptations, they ruin the plot. They just don't work well together. I Of course, I've seen a lot of movie adaptations, and not all of them are that bad because Harry Potter, hello. But most of the movies, like the hating game, I think, and there was one other thing, Percy Jackson. Like they ruined the main story, right? And one of my favorite book to movie adaptations is Red, White, and Royal Blue. Even though they made quite a few changes in the movie, but still, the original theme, the original fun of the book, it's still there in the movie. They actually encapsulated the fun element of the story